Hello. I'm making this video in response to my appearance on Conscious TV. They put the video up on Saturday, and it's now Monday, and I've had an overwhelming response from people that have really enjoyed what I had to say and are interested in finding out more about my methods and how I've got to where I've got. So I thought I'd make some videos to share the information. What I've done is I've asked people to ask me questions because I think that's probably the best way. And I had one yesterday saying, I have a question as to how you meditate. Since there are so many definitions for meditation and ways to meditate, I get confused as to the right way to do it. So any feedback or sharing about your meditation process would be interesting. Well, my meditation process really is a case of forgetting everything you've been told. You don't have to sit in any particular way. I found other people would probably completely disagree with me, but I meditate for several hours at a time, so I couldn't be sat in a lotus position for all that time. I tried that, and you just think, well, I'm just uncomfortable. What's the point? It's kind of taking ideas of I can reach this mysticism by sitting in a certain position or repeating a mantra or doing breathing. I'm sure those things are helpful to people, because when you're trying to release yourself from your mind, they give the mind something to do. So they're quite handy in as much as where your mind is concentrating on, say, repeating a mantra, it leaves your mind, the creative part of you that's connected and feels connected to the bigger picture. It allows that to be a little bit freer. But what I found with that is that it's really hard when you get started to be able to do that, because the mind is so active and so full of its own input that it's virtually impossible. And then that just adds another layer of how you're not good enough. You know, you'd sit and think, right, okay, I'm going to say om over and over again. I'm going to try and get into that space of omming, and you're doing it, and then you suddenly realise you've drifted off again because your mind's captured you and taken you somewhere. And then when you come back, you have that feeling of, oh, bloody hell, you know, I did it again, I've lost it again. And then the mind's like, well, yeah, it's because you're not any good at this. You know, I don't know why you're even trying. It's not for the likes of you, you know. It will pull you in and pull you down and out of it given any opportunity if your mind is in a negative place. But what you realise after a while, when you really get into it, is that actually the mind wants to be free. It doesn't want to be in this state of agitation and anger and chastising. It's doing it because it thinks that's what you need, because it's the way it's always done it. It doesn't know any different. And so if somebody that has had incidents in their lives where you've been particularly unhappy, part of your mind is trying to protect you from that happening to you again. And how it protects you is it becomes stern. If you have a stern parent, I can sometimes hear my mother's voice in my head, especially, you know, if it's something that I've done wrong, or my mind's decided I've done wrong. You know, I can actually hear her. So my method of meditation it's really, really simple. Ooh. I'm not trying to bring anything to me anymore. I used to be absolutely determined that I was going to bring some sort of light down into me. That's what it felt like. It was outside of me, and that I could somehow get to it and bring it. But you can for periods of time. I've had, before the switch point happened for me, where everything changed. I was doing really well with it, actually. I was spending a lot of time meditating. I'd become a lot kinder to myself. I was actually looking at my mind more rather than trying to escape it, and I think that opened up the place for the shift to be able to take place. basically, yeah, what I'm saying is you have to accept that you have to go in to it. And as frightening and as scary as it seems, it is actually the only way out from yourself. I recently came across a quote by Carl Jung, the psychologist, and it summed it up perfectly for me. I wrote it down because it's something that I like to have with me. It says, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. It's true. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining beings of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that is the answer. But as scary as it might seem, when you actually start looking at your mind and what's in there, it's not as scary as you think. You think there's horrible things in there and that you're capable of horrible things, and we don't want to feel that. But I've come to realise that we are actually animals. We may have separated ourselves in our minds and decided that we're above animals, but we actually are animals that live off of a set of emotions for protection. And so we have the happy, joyful emotions, which we embrace and we love them, and we want to be in that place all the time. But the rest of them, the ones that are needed for things like if you do actually are in danger, you do need to run away from something, your flight or flight responses, we don't want them, so we push them away. We make them wrong. We make them so that they shouldn't be there, but they are there, and they pester you and pester you and pester you until you accept them, and they have their place and they have their jobs. Like anger. We need anger. We might not need it on a daily basis, and if we're not in tune with ourselves, anger pops up all over the place and we treat people horribly. But actually we need anger, because in a situation where somebody was doing you or somebody you love harm, actually there is a constructive response. We need anger because it's hard. It would be hard to protect yourself if you were feeling completely passive. It wouldn't be possible. And we make the passiveness, we think the passiveness is our friend. Being gentle and soft and kind and loving is our friend, and it is. But anger is also our friend, but it only needs to come out when it needs to come out. You may never actually need to use it, but it's there for you. But unfortunately, because of the way that we live our lives, and that we live in this very external mind where we are constantly looking for something outside to make us feel happy, we just deny our emotions. We have the ones that we're told that are okay as we grow up, and the ones that we're told that aren't, and we do whatever we can to try and hide the ones that we're told aren't good enough, aren't right. But you can't. You can maybe hide it from the outside world to an extent, but really you can't. Because people that are pretending that they're happy, but you can tell that inside that they're sad or they're angry, or it's just crazy that we're all living in this way that denies half of who we are because we're terrified of it. But when you realise that there's nothing actually to be scared of, you're not going to, if you get in touch with your part of you that is strong and protective, you're not going to start going out and murdering people. It's there if you need it, but you don't have to use it. It's when they're out of whack that things go wrong. It's when we have a big fear element in us from something from childhood. When fear is ignited in us, we see everything through that fear. And so every interaction we have, everything that we do is covered by this haze of fear. And we live like that all the time. And once you start to rise above these things or to understand them, they don't need to keep coming. They have their place. They're there if you need them, but they don't have to keep coming up. And I've got to the point with all of my emotions where I'm friends with them all now. And if one of them pops its little head up because of something that I've thought or I've seen, I just can soothe them down now and say, it's okay, I've got this. Don't worry, it's absolutely fine. And they're happy not to erupt. So yeah, how do I meditate? It's a good question. What I do is I sit here. I'll show you where I sit. here. This is my house. And yeah, so I sit here. Oh, nearly gave you a view up my skirt then. Sorry about that. And I hope you didn't see my knickers then. Yeah, I just sit here. I have a pot of tea in a thermos and a cup, and I move around. I don't just sit still in one position. What's important is that you're looking at your mind. It doesn't matter how you're sat, where you're sat, whether you've got candles and incense burning. I often do have both those things because I love candlelight, and I love incense, because why would you not give your nose a lovely treat? So yeah, I make it comfortable for myself, and so if you're trying to concentrate on sitting properly or being centred and all of those things, that's just another layer of shit that you have to work your way through. So you just sit and be with yourself, and you notice what your mind is thinking. You notice the interjection. You start to see what your mind is saying, how it's unkind, how it's constructive, how it's negative. Mine was completely out of whack. I had parts of me that were really loving it and sweet, and I had other parts of me that were just vicious and so mean. I couldn't do a thing right for this particular one, and I realised that was my judgment. My judgment was completely out of whack on self-judgment. Because I had such self-loathing, this part of me just reinforced it constantly. It just would just make me wrong about everything. And once I got to grips with her, because I think of them as entities separate, they're me, but they have their own personalities. And so once I got to know her, and she's now brilliant. She's great. She's constructive. She only speaks really now if she's needed. She helps me. And it's just it's like a good working relationship with all of your parts. And it's like you're all on the same page. All the instruments are playing the same tune. And it's just so freeing. So yeah, I just sit and I see what comes up. And I just watch it. That's the thing. You have to become the watcher. But a watcher with an open, loving heart. So you think, right, okay, I'm not going to try and push any of this away. I'm just going to see it. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see what it has to offer me. See what it's showing me. What's the story behind this? I find that things arise in me. It's like I'll have an emotion, say something would happen in the day, and I would feel it hit me, because I've become quite clear by this point, where at one point there was so much going on, so much emotion all the time, I couldn't separate one from the other. It was impossible. But spending more and more time in quietness and watching, I would notice an emotion come up in the day, and I would say, it's okay, I know you're there. And then when I sat down in the evening, I would sit and wait, and then it would come, and I would let it come into me. And it's uncomfortable. I'm not saying that it feels nice. It doesn't. It feels horrible sometimes. Depends what it is, actually. But when you're actually allowing it to come, you feel the emotion, whatever it is. If it's fear or pain or anger or whatever it is, as it comes into you, part of you thinks, oh my God, I'm losing it. I'm losing this. It's taking me over. But then the other part of you is always there saying, it's okay. It's okay. Let it come. Let it come. And it has no judgment or no, it doesn't care if you do or don't either. That's the nice thing about it. It's the part of you that knows everything. It doesn't care how well you do. It doesn't care whether you manage 2 minutes of clarity or 5 hours of clarity. It's happy for you. If you were in the most tormented place in the world, it still doesn't feel that it needs to interject in any way or judge in any way. It allows you to have everything. So yeah, you need to just be with you. That is the bottom line of it. What you have to do is surrender to what you've gathered. I thought about that the other night. It came to me that was basically what it is. You're surrendering to the things that you have created yourself, in yourself, and you've carried around. So instead of looking away from it, you just start looking at it, but not judging it. that's the thing. You've got to get to the point where you can look at it from a non-judgmental point of view, because if you start judging it, you're just adding another layer, and you will find that you will slip into judgment, but you realise it's not you, because you'll realise it's a part of you that's judging. And there'll be arguments in your head as well. Sometimes there'll be several going at once. There'll be one feeling really sad about something, and then another one going, oh, you're so weak, what's the matter with you? Another part going, oh, I'm so miserable, it's so awful, these things, oh, there's nothing awful, and you can watch that, you can watch the arguments, you can watch all the interactions, and you also find that you have parts of you that they don't even have any real depth. They're just a repeated pattern of words. It's like Jack in the Boxes, that a certain emotion comes and they come with it. I found that I had several that actually had no substance behind them at all. There was one that would always, if anger or fear or any of those negative emotions came up, it would start shouting, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you all, I hate you. And that was it, that's all it said. And there was another one that would go, oh, no, 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 no. And that was its entirety. And then another one that was like a very small child that would judge everything. Well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do things like that. And when I first noticed them, because they all came at the same time, and I separated them out and thought, how strange. What's behind it? And I didn't do anything about it at that time. But then a few weeks later, I noticed them again, and so I actually went in and spoke to them and said to no, why are you saying no? What are you saying no to? And she just kept saying no, 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 no. It was just no. And the oh no, oh my God, the scared no, was just the same. There was just nothing really behind it at all. And once I realised that, I asked them to hold my hand. I said to each of them, and the little, you shouldn't do that, to hold on to me, to hold on to my hands, and so that I could show them what they really were, and that they weren't this pain and this rejection and this hatred and this fear. They were free. And they held my hand, and I sort of breathed it into them, or it felt like that's what I was doing, and that's what my mind was imagining that I was doing. And no. She's all right looking, and suddenly she was, yes, and I hate you. Started with, I love you. And she was like, oh, I love you. And no was going, yes, I hate you. Was saying, I love you. And the little, oh no, you shouldn't do that. She was just running around like a loony. She was just completely free. We didn't give a shit about what she shouldn't do. She was doing it all. And from that point onwards, they went. They haven't come back since. Because they've been looked at and understood. And our mind is huge, and it's full of stuff. It's full of all of our experiences from our lives, the good, the bad, what we've decided is good, what we've decided is bad, what's right, what's wrong. And just by being with it, you gradually look at it, understand it, and that little bit goes away. And then a little bit more space opens. And then other things will come through. Because to start with, the ones that want you to see them are the ones that are hurt, and so they're really eager. They're, look at me, and you look at them, and they dissolve, and then deeper ones come, the ones that are more to do with your own misgivings, your own shame, the things that you've done to others that you don't like, the parts of you that you really don't like. But once these parts start to see that the other parts have been greeted with love and understanding, and that's what they would be greeted with, they gradually come. And I've had evenings where I've spent the whole evening in tears, because I've seen the pain and the suffering that in a way, I created by rejecting it. And by looking at it, it's like there are actually tears of joy quite often mixed in. It can be a mixture of the two, deep sorrow at what you've done to yourself, joy that you're not doing it anymore. So, yeah, the clearing part of it for me, how it works when they come into me, is I will feel the emotion of a little person, and I'm just trying to think of a good example of one. The funny thing is as I've progressed and moved away from that side of it, it's sort of drifted away from me, and I don't have that good a recollection of it now. It's not important anymore to me, really. But I realise that for demonstration purposes, it would be a good idea if I could think of a good example. The one that comes to mind is, it was a teenager, and it was during a period of my life where I was in hell, absolutely in hell. I was probably about 14 at the time, probably 14. I might have been nearly 15. I left home when I was 15. And it was a feeling that came through me of just desperation, real deep desperation, and feeling that nobody understood me at all. There was nobody there for me in the world, is how it felt. I realise now, actually, that wasn't true, and there was plenty of people that were in my life that, had I had the balls, that I could have actually gone to and talked to, but I was so far indoctrinated into my mother's lies that I couldn't speak out. But anyway, this particular day, I came home from school, and there was only my mum at home, and she was upstairs in her bedroom. And I went upstairs and I knocked on her door and shouted hi, and I was greeted by her opening the door just a bit, not completely open, just a sort of a fraction, because I was still at the other side of the door, was sort of waiting for her to come to the door because she'd lock herself in. And she opened the door and she punched me right in the face, just like that, and slammed the door again. I stood there and I thought, what the hell, it was such a shock. I didn't know what I'd done. And then she's shouting, I know what you've been doing. I found it. I know. That's why you're like you are. That's why you're such an awful person, because of your drug habit. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? I was even feeling like I'd done something, thinking, what has she found out? What drugs? Have I got some drugs? I knew I didn't have any drugs, but, your mind's whirling. Eventually she came out of her bedroom, and I came flying out, raging, telling me she'd told everybody about my drug habit, and that explained it all. And this went on for ages, and she was being so horrible. And I was just saying, what? Why do you think that? Oh, you can't hide it from me, I know. And eventually, from behind her back, she pulled out this brush handle, and it was I had a round-headed brush, and the end had come off of the brush. And she'd been in my handbag, going through my bag. She'd do that regularly. Anything that she could find on me, she loved it. And she held it, and she said, look, I've got your drug machine. I said, that's the handle of my brush. And she said, no, it isn't. I know what it is. Because in the end of it, there were two little round holes. So it was a handle, and then it went smooth and had these two round holes. She said, you put the drugs in there and then you sniff it up your nose. I know what you're doing. I've told everybody. And then I went into my bedroom, and when I got in there, she'd wrecked it, because in her mind, I was a drug addict, and I had probably a hive of drugs in there, and so she'd literally been through it in a rage, and everything that I owned was broken, thrown around, covered in cream. It was just horrible. And I sat on the floor with my back to the door, and I didn't feel that I had a single person in the world that I could speak to or that could help me, and I just felt desperate. I just wanted to be away from this so badly, and away from this just madness, because it was total madness. It had no sense or reason, but at the same time, it felt like she could continually turn people against me, because she would tell all my family all these things she made up about me. She would tell people, and so I felt like an outcast in my own family. I felt an outcast in my own body. So yeah, I sat there, and I was desperate, and I was just saying, well, somebody please help me. Somebody help me. What am I going to do? And when I saw this from my perspective now, when I went into that memory and saw her sat there, saw the whole thing. And the funny thing is when you do that, you also see the other person's point of view too. For the first time, instead of just thinking of my mum as being this mad, evil thing, I just thought, my God, she's so broken. Look how broken she is, that she will do this and think this and behave like this. And then I thought, how can this little girl was saying, I need someone to help me to take me out of this. And so I imagined then that I was outside, and I'm able to be both things at the same time. So I can stay within the energy of the young person, but also be me, and think, right, from my perspective, what does she want more than anything? She wants to be gone from this place. And so I imagined that I was outside with the car, a little MG. It had a suitcase in the boot that was full of new things for her, a little puppy on the passenger seat, and I stood outside the house and I threw stones at the window. And when she came to the window, I beckoned her. And I find that they never not know who I am. It's kind of that feeling where when you kind of recognise someone, but you don't know where you recognise them from, but you know that they're good. It's like they would have that feeling. So she came to the window. I beckoned her to come downstairs, and she came down and opened the door, and I said, come on, come with me. You can come, you don't have to stay here. I've heard you. I heard your cries, and I'm here for you. And we can go wherever you want, and you can have a little flat. You can start your life afresh. This is your puppy, this is clothes, this is everything you need. And I took her. And I took her away, and I took her to my village. And I spent quite a lot of time with her, actually, because she was sad. Like, sometimes I find that I rescue them and they just sort of vanish. But her, I felt that I needed to really talk to her and get her to really see that she wasn't awful, and that it wasn't her fault, and she wasn't bad. And by doing that, she was free. And that's all you can do. And you just keep doing it, and they keep coming, and you keep doing it. But you're always loving presence, no matter what is presented to you. I had some things that I'd done, a couple of things, I'm not going to tell you what they are, that I was deeply ashamed of, that I couldn't accept. So when those things came up to start with, I was still, from this perspective, it's a bit like, but I did manage to get round it by just thinking, she couldn't help it. She was doing what she thought was right at the time, and she was hurt. Hurt people and do bad things. And so I took her, again, go in, talk to her, let the person explain to you what their pain is, how they feel, and you let that pain come into you. And it is hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but know that no matter what comes, at any point, if it's too much for you, pull yourself out. You don't have to stay in that. You are in control. You have complete control at all times. It's the first time, probably, it was for me, that I had ever had any control. And when I suddenly felt that I did, I had ultimate control over myself, and that I was loving myself. The pain just, it gives itself to you. It gives itself to you, and you're willing to take it. And harmony eventually falls into place. And gradually less and less of them come, because you sort them out. And it took me several months of sorting, but gradually less and less and less would come. And then a new phase began, where my pondering, meditation, I call it pondering actually more than meditating, because you're pondering yourself, started to come, where I was seeing everything now from me, from my perspective. And that was a phase that went on for quite a while, where I would see how I had been responsible for things. But the lovely thing about that also is you're doing it just from a place of understanding. So even though you can feel, God, I wish I hadn't done that and that was bad, you understand why you did it. And so there's no malice. There's no, God, you're terrible, or I wish you weren't like that. Or it's just a lovingness. You have to find your lovingness for yourself. And that can be easier said than done, because I know that I couldn't find any lovingness for myself. It was just too deeply buried. But it's all in there. All the lovingness is in there. It's just overshadowed. All the happiness and the contentment and the feelings of just being able to live freely, it's all there. It's the other stuff is piled on top of it. You're not without it. You just can't feel it because you can't get to it. So I hope that's kind of a bit of an explanation. I'll watch this back and hopefully it will be okay, because I find that actually I don't remember what I said when I said it. I've got another lovely quote from Carl Jung, which is again sums it up. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. It's true. And another one. This is nice. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Also true. Stop denying that you're everything. Accept that you're everything. And the world opens up for you. Okay, right, I'm going to stop this now.